Good morning, everybody. My name is Jim Chilson. I am Director of Communications for the Citizens Utility Board, or CUB, and welcome to the very last members-only meeting of 2024. We really appreciate your support this year, and we appreciate you logging in. We've got a great show for you today. We're going to look back at the good work that you supported in 2024. As always, with the consumer advocacy, there's a lot of good things we did, but there's so much more work we need to do. There's still too many people who can't afford their bills. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But one thing, our main message for all of these meetings is always thank you for your support. We could not do this work without you. You are partners in the work for clean energy, consumer protections, and lower utility bills. And we just thank you so much for that. So these accomplishments that we're going to go over are your accomplishments. And like I said, we did, and that's Linda, who is a frequent visitor to our members only meetings, says, thank you for all you do. I appreciate you. We appreciate you, Linda. Thank you. So a few notes, and this is, there's some sad notes here, but one of the notes is that Sarah Moskowitz, our executive director, was supposed to be part of this. Today, she is now in Springfield. She is not able to make today. She profusely apologizes, but she was asked by the chairman of the Illinois Commerce Commission to make a presentation on resource adequacy in Springfield. So that's where she is at. You can, Elizabeth is behind the scenes. She's going to be putting things in the chat. One of the things that she'll put in the chat is that Sarah's executive director's report for 2024. You can see that. Also, if you haven't already, we encourage you to renew your CUB membership for 2025. Now is the time. If you give a donation today or after, you will be renewed for 2025, and we will have information in the chat about how you can give. Or you can just go to citizensutilityboard.org. So Sarah is not with us today. She profusely apologizes, but we have two great people here on the call today, and that is Yvonne Requa, who is our outreach director, longtime outreach director, longtime cubby, longtime coworker. Thank you for joining us, Yvonne.
Thank you, Jim. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today.
And now Yvonne is a veteran, like I am at CUB, but we have somebody who is brand new to CUB, although she seems like a veteran because she handles herself so well. It's Zoe Husband, who is our carbon-free buildings coordinator. Welcome, Zoe.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's great to meet all of you.
Thank you. One thing that is, let me just tell you a little bit about Yvonne. She joined CUB in 2012 as outreach director. She now leads the team that educates Illinois consumers on various utility issues. She establishes relationships with community organizations, and she serves both English and Spanish-speaking constituents. She says her favorite part about working for CUB is being able to make a difference in the lives of consumers and helping them save money on their bills. I love that. And Zoe, like I said, is relatively new. She joined CUB in June of 2024. And what I was going to say was that Zoe is part of a long line of people who come in through CUB and are energetic, they're smart, they're ready to do good work, and they're working their tails off every day to do good for Illinois consumers. When I was new at CUB, I was one of the young people there. No longer am I one of the young people. And my new challenge is to listen to all the good people who come through these doors and have great ideas. So Zoe, again, is our carbon-free buildings coordinator. After graduating from the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana with a degree in environmental sustainability, she came to CUB. She's eager to advocate for a sustainable energy future, she says, focusing on building decarbonization and engaging with community members. And that's what she's done over the past 6 months. We're going to go through some of the highlights of this year. And then we're going to go into the outreach team, which both Yvonne leads and Zoe is part of, and we're going to have some questions for them to answer. This is a big day at CUB. I have to tell you, this is a very busy day. and I will put this up to my poor scheduling. I will blame myself on this, but literally within the next hour, there are going to be two major cases that are going to be decided before the Illinois Commerce Commission that involve higher rates for Commonwealth Edison and for Ameren, Illinois. Their grid plans were rejected last year, and now they came back with new grid plans. This ICC that we have right now has been very strong at pushing back on the utilities, and they've filed new grid plans. And today, the Illinois Commerce Commission is going to issue a final order. Hopefully, we get a good order. We will see, and we will put out a statement, and we'll send out an e-newsletter about that when we can figure out what it is. These are big final orders. There's a lot of pages to this, and it takes a lot for our legal team to go through them. So I appreciate your patience. But also, just want to point out that Elizabeth Brandon, who is putting things in the chat, she is behind the scenes. You don't see her, but she is part of the consumer, part of the communications team that has done great work all year long. So let me dive into this. I need to begin, like I said at the beginning, there's a sad note here. Chris Thompson, a longtime board member and our treasurer, unfortunately has passed away. He passed away last Friday, and I have to tell you, this just hits me like a gut punch. We really deeply appreciated Chris's sense of justice and his support of the staff and his sharp wit. I think Candace Justice, who is another member of the board, she put it well. She said he did not suffer fools gladly. And I can tell you multiple times in conversations when he would come to my office, I was one of those fools that he didn't suffer gladly. He put me in my place several times, but it was his toughness and his standard of excellence was legendary. And like I said, I'm really lucky to be working here. We have great people like Zoe who come through, and great people like Chris, you know, who I had the pleasure to know and the privilege to know. We've lost a great friend and champion. So thank you, Chris, and rest in peace. Candace also said just about Chris that she said that quote about he did not suffer fools gladly. She said that also was part of his charm. And there was definitely, he had charm. He made his presence known when he'd come to the CUB office. I wish I could have just one more conversation with him. So Chris, thank you, and rest in peace. So let's talk about the communications department, which I'm part of. I'm going to be really quick here as I go through some of these things. The main job of the communications department is to put good, strong content on our social media platforms, on our email platforms, and on our website, and to put out news releases that compel the media to cover our issues, so that we're constantly trying to put pressure on the utilities to treat their customers better. And I have two partners in that work, and that is Elizabeth Brandon and Karen Tolentino. I just want to say they've produced great content on our blog and on our social media platforms. Please visit them when you get a chance. Visit those platforms and check it out. Karen Tolentino divides her time between Yvonne's outreach department and the communications department, and she works on our Spanish language platforms, and she has just done a wonderful, wonderful job. You go to those platforms, even if you don't understand Spanish, you go to those platforms and you look, and this is somebody who is dedicated to creating great content. There's videos on there, there's animation, there's just good tips and great blog material. She just does a wonderful job, and I think both Elizabeth and Karen, I just thank you for all your good work. And please, if you go to citizensutilityboard.org, you can click on our social media platforms. There's an entire website that's in Spanish. You can click on at citizensutilityboard.org. You can go to it. Also, you can click on our social media platforms and follow and share our content. CUB was mentioned in 3 front page articles in the Tribune this year and in the Sun-Times. We had 2 op-eds in the Tribune, and we were mentioned in 2 editorials by the Sun-Times. And we were featured in a great Chicago Sun-Times article marking CUB's 40th anniversary. This is our 40th year of consumer advocacy. And I'm just going to read the first paragraph. Utility bills can be confusing, the Chicago Sun-Times wrote, but the nonpartisan Citizens Utility Board of Illinois has helped save customers an estimated $20 billion in blocked rate hikes and refunds over the past 40 years. So that is what it made me most happy about. That is it just shined a spotlight on the CUB staff. There's a nice picture of Marina Minnick from CUB's outreach team in that story, and I know Elizabeth is putting that in the chat. So let's go to legal, because as you know, those ComEd and Ameren cases are going to be decided today. We'll put out a statement about that. So far, there were two other water cases. There were two other rate hike cases before the Illinois Commerce Commission involving Aqua Illinois and Illinois American Water, two companies that just spark the most frustration among customers. We get a lot of calls from angry water customers. Their bills are going through the roof. We're never happy to see a rate hike. The rate hikes were granted in these cases, but the legal team, which is Eric DeBellis and Laura Lloyd, they helped to reduce those rate hikes by a total of $50 million. But still, the companies did get rate hikes, and the big story there is that we were glad we were able to reduce the rate hikes somewhat, but they still got rate hikes that were too high. And that's because water policy in the state is in dire need of reform. People have been telling us for years they need to be treated better by these water companies. There is I'm going to talk about very shortly, there's some legislation that Brian McDaniel, our person in Springfield, will be fighting the good fight for, and one of them is about water reforms, and I'll talk a little bit about that. That gets me into the policy department, is that Brian McDaniel, again, who is our man in Springfield, he plans on working for two major pieces of legislation that we worked on last year also. And one is called the Utility Affordability Act, and the other is called the Water Affordability and Accountability Act. Now, folks, I know it's frustrating. We go year after year after year fighting for these bills, and that's the way. Sometimes that's what it takes. These utilities they've got a lot of money, they've got strong lobbying teams, and a lot of times we just have to keep year after year fighting them and gaining more support for these issues. Let me just talk about the Water Affordability and Accountability Act. Right now, there's a qualified infrastructure plant surcharge on water bills, and it is causing water bills to be unaffordable. They're able to charge that because they're allowed by the legislature to add the CUB charge to water bills. You may have heard us talk about the CUB charge on gas bills. That has sunset, and we're glad about that. But now it's still alive and well on water bills, and so we're constantly lobbying the legislature to try to get rid of that. Also, under Illinois law right now, the water companies are allowed to buy up municipal water systems, and they do this. They go across the state, and they charge 100% of the costs to their customers, which is absolutely unbelievable and horrible for consumers. Our argument is that, and they've charged customers about $400 million on their water bills over the last decade, buying up these municipal systems. We argue that, hey, if you're going to do that, you have a right to do that, but there should be two reforms in Illinois law. First of all, you should allow customers in that city to decide by referendum if they want their system sold to a private water company. Because often what happens is once they get bought up by a private water company, rates go through the roof. Also, we think that if you're going to buy up water systems, you should make shareholders pay for a majority of those costs. Right now, shareholders don't pay for anything. Customers pay for 100% of those acquisition costs. So we're fighting for those types of reforms in the Utility Affordability and Accountability Act. Another, the Water Affordability and Accountability Act is the bill about water. The Utility Affordability Act is something we fought for last year, and that's where the utilities under current state law are allowed to charge us all kinds of dumb charges on our electric, gas, and water bills. For example, fees for outside attorneys who help push for higher rates for the utilities. So fees for outside attorneys. They're allowed to charge us for advertising that props up the utilities image. Just there's a whole list of dumb charges that we pay for on our electric bills and gas bills and water bills under state law. And what we're saying is that if utilities want to do those kinds of expenses, that's fine, that's their choice, but shareholders should pick up the bill for those charges. So we made national headlines last year fighting for the Utility Affordability Act. Every year it's gaining a little bit more support, and we're going to do that again. Let me go just quickly to the Consumer Advocacy Department. This is the crew that is led by Sandra and also includes Ani and Danielle. I counted it up this morning. If you add up all of their experience, it amounts to 63 years of experience that they have answering questions by Illinois consumers. They staff our hotline at 1-800-669-5556. There's also a link on our website where you can file a complaint or an inquiry about your utility bills and service. They handle those also. They spend a good portion of their time talking with frustrated consumers who have a complaint about their utility bills. This year, they handled about 1,500 complaints and inquiries about bills, and they saved individual utility customers about $35,888. I'm sure that's gone up since Sandra last gave me that number. Two great stories. Ani, CUB's bilingual consumer rights specialist, took on the case of a small business owner who had suffered since 2020 under a bad deal with an alternative electricity supplier. The company had lured this customer into this deal. Ani helped secure a refund of over $23,000 for the small business customer. I'd get in big trouble if I'd say every time you call the CUB hotline, you're going to get a refund. That's not always the case, but at the very least, you get educated about the system. And in this case, we were really happy to help this small business owner. It's a sad story. We helped get a woman a $739 refund after she paid a rate that was about triple the utility price. That's the good news. The sad part was she filed a complaint with us, and she said, I'm a working single mom and had to take out a loan to pay the back charges to keep my power on due to this extortion rate being charged by this alternative supplier. This is wrong on so many levels. And I can tell you, we get case after case after case of these sad stories of people who are just lured into bad deals. So everybody should look at their electric and gas bill and make sure they're not overpaying with an alternative supplier on their bills. One more thing, and then we're going to go into the outreach department, is that we have a new campaign, which a lot of people don't know about. They haven't even heard of an organization called PGM Interconnection, which is the power grid operator for Northern Illinois and about a dozen other states going all the way to the Eastern Seaboard. We have a campaign, it's called the Consumers for a Better Grid campaign. It's led by Clara Summers. And they worked all year, this campaign, this one-person campaign, works all year to advocate for Illinois consumers at PGM Interconnection. Again, it's the nation's largest power grid operator. It covers 65 million customers in Northern Illinois and all other parts of a dozen other states. And its policy decisions have a major impact on how affordable, reliable, and clean our power is. This June, ComEd supply prices are going to go up significantly, and it's because of poor policy at PGM. We will, in the new year, we're going to be preparing consumers for that rate hike beginning in the summer. But Clara does amazing work. We have a year in review. She wrote a year in review, a month-by-month year in review. We put that in the chat, and we just had a big victory. PGM had proposed a plan to give transmission owners more control over transmission planning. And the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission completely rejected it. And we put out a statement thanking FERC for rejecting this anti-consumer proposal by PJM and the transmission owners, which would have given, we said, large corporations with a profit motive far too much power and secrecy in transmission planning. It would have served to enrich transmission owners much more than the public interest. We're glad FERC saw through PJM and the transmission owners' power grab. So I know that Elizabeth, as I speak, is putting these things in the chat. So check it out. Clara does just amazing work at FERC, at PJM, and it's paying off. We need consumer advocacy at that level. We need it at the Illinois Commerce Commission. Like I said, there's going to be this major ruling this today about ComEd and Ameren rates, but we also need it at the regional and federal level, and that's Clara's role. And actually, Sarah spoke at FERC this year, and she was the lone consumer advocate on a panel at the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission in Washington. That's the kind of good work we're doing. We're working at the federal and regional level. We're going to Washington to fight for consumers. We're going to the Illinois Commerce Commission to fight for consumers. Sarah's in Springfield and Brian's in Springfield fighting for consumers. And we also do, through the outreach department, which I'm going to talk about next, Yvonne and Zoe do this amazing work as part of this outreach department that does free events across the state of Illinois every year. So I just want to name the outreach department. There's Grace, Yvonne, Karen, Marina, Matt, Scott, and Zoe. Yvonne, I don't know if you want to talk about just some of the accomplishments this year of the outreach team.
Thank you, Jim. And as much as I loved having Scott in my team, he is actually not part of the outreach team anymore. So Scott is now doing policy work, and we invite you to see his blog posts on our website. Over this year, our team held over about 250, 230 events across the state of Illinois, and we served about 5,000 consumers across the state, just talking to them about different topics such as energy efficiency, decarbonization, about their phone and cable bills. We did utility bill clinics, solar education. And this year we were nominated for the Climate Action Hero Award for 2024. Unfortunately, we didn't get it, but it was a great experience. And it was a great exposure just being part of the nominees. Also, what else? We have been working on the group buy for discounts for solar panels, and also Marina has been doing an amazing job educating consumers on solar. She is I call her our solar guru in outreach, because she is a great resource not only for our team and the consumers, but for other organizations. I think we hold a great place out there as a resource. CUB is a great resource for other organizations and for consumers. So that's something that's like part of what we have been working on this year.
Thank you, Yvonne. And a couple things. Thank you for correcting me about Scott. I did not know that he had moved to the policy department. But Elizabeth, I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm wondering if you can put that OG resource in the chat if you're able to. Yvonne mentioned this, and this is a really cool piece of content. When I was bragging about the good work of Elizabeth, she was leading the effort to put this content on our website. All this year and into next year, the Illinois Commerce Commission is holding a Future of Gas proceeding, where we're talking about how to deal with the clean energy transition in the context of gas utilities, the role of gas utilities, and trying to move people to cleaner and cheaper, more affordable forms of heat and cooking in the future. It's not going to happen overnight. This is going to be a long process, but the state of Illinois is rightfully asking these questions and having a discussion. And we thought, well, Sarah really called me on the phone one day and said, hey, I really think we need a consumer-friendly resource to help people understand what's going on at these FOG proceedings and to kind of, just give people an idea of the issues that are being discussed. And she thought it was a great idea to have Scott, who is our point person attending these FOG meetings, these workshops, and to write personal essays explaining what was discussed and giving people links and all the information they need to learn about this. And so we have it's called citizensutilityboard.org/FOG. It's for Future of Gas, and we call it the lifting the fog resource. It's kind of giving people an understanding of what's going on at these workshops. This can be pretty dense information. Sometimes it may make people their eyes glaze over, but these are important issues that they're talking about. We thought it was really important. Linda says we would have no idea. She said, I'm going to share all this information about what you do with friends and family, post it on Facebook. Thank you. She said, we would have no idea of all this behind the scenes dodgy stuff without you fighting for us. And I think the Future of Gas proceeding is a good proceeding. And that is the kind of thing that a lot of people don't know about. And we're trying to educate people about it. Two quick stories, then we can get into questions. But I want to tell two great stories about the outreach team. Is first of all, Yvonne was talking about the solar program, the Group Buy program, which is just a great program. It's something that's totally appropriate that CUB is part of. We need consumer advocates guiding people on what solar deal, on good solar deals out there. It's really important. And there was one gentleman emailed us recently. He was part of the solar Group Buy program. It gives people a discount on their solar panels, and it also just educates them about solar. It's not a hard sell, which is great. Sometimes I was in a store once and a solar salesperson came out to me and really gave me a hard sell, gave me some information that was inaccurate. And I'm so grateful for this program because you're not going to get a hard sell here. You're going to get educated about solar. And if you want to move forward, then you'll be able to. But this person decided to move forward, and he sent us this great quote. He said, starting in April, my ComEd bill has been zero. This is this past year. And he was a member of the Solar Group Buy program. He said, keep up the great work. And now this is a sad story. At a utility bill clinic in Lansing in June, held by the outreach team, CUB found that a consumer named Dan was paying an alternative electricity supplier named Clearview about 23 cents per kilowatt hour. Just to give you an idea, ComEd's price at the time was about 6.9 cents per kilowatt hour. So he was getting charged triple, just disgusting. He did not get a refund. People don't always get refunds, but we did educate him about it, and he did get off the deal. And he said, you helped me save money, keep up the good work. So I just think that's really great. Now, let's go into questions. And Zoe's been patiently waiting. She's, Chilson, when are you going to shut up and ask some questions? So we would love to hear if people have questions. But I want to start off by asking you a question, Zoe. So you started off in June of, was it June of, when did you start? June of 2024? Yeah. June of 2024. So 6 months into this, what have you observed? What do you have a favorite story about your adventures holding these events all across the state of Illinois?
Yeah, for sure. One that sticks out to me is a couple weeks ago, I was in Glenview doing a healthier homes panel. So I was talking with a sustainable architect and also a home energy audit provider. and it was a really great experience. Like people were so engaged that we literally shut the library down. The librarians were very politely, kicking us out, and even then, people were still like coming up to me, being like, "Zoe, like, oh, like here's this thought that I have," or just like making comments on like the presentation and how helpful it was. So that was just a really great experience to like see that people care and are learning things from what we have to share, especially when we collaborated with other people outside of our work too, just to like give like the full um experience.
Yeah. Yeah, you have not lived until you've gone to a CUB event. I tell new employees that I go, it's the greatest feeling when you see how hungry people are for information. I'm curious, is there something you've observed about what is the greatest need that utility customers have in Illinois?
I would say the greatest need would be for public education on the resources that are available. I think that most people aren't aware of the current incentives that exist that they can take advantage of, and I don't blame them for that. I think it's hard to know about if you're not specializing in this work. So I think there really is a need for us to go out there and educate people on the, Inflation Reduction Act incentives, for example, like the tax credits that they can take advantage of for appliance upgrades and things like that. And people are always like, wow, I didn't know this existed. There are so many things to take advantage of. So that would be my biggest thing that I've noticed so far.
Yeah. Yeah, that is so true. People just need to be connected, to resources. And there are resources out there. They just don't always know about them. Yvonne, let me put you on the hot seat. Okay. The veteran outreach director. You've been all over the state, right? From one end of the state to the other. She's saying yes, yes, thousands of miles you've covered. What is one of the top pieces of advice you give consumers in the events you hold across the state?
When I first joined CUB, I think one of the hottest events were the UBCs, and back then they were called phone bill clinics.
Yeah.
So we will go across the state of Illinois, just helping consumers get on these AT&T plans that were a lot cheaper. And over the years, things have shifted a little bit, but still, I think the greatest piece of advice for consumers continue to be the alternative suppliers, like staying away from alternative suppliers and just practicing energy efficiency. We always mention at our events that the cheapest kilowatt hour is the one we don't use. So saving energy is the best way to save money on our bills. And CUB has always been for saving consumers money. So I think that continues to be one of the main things that we look for on when we are reviewing bills. And of course, as Zoe says, we continue to educate consumers and letting them know about the resources available that many people are not aware of. So consumer education continues to be our main goal during our events, whether if it's a presentation or a utility bill clinic. We want everybody to be able to understand their bills and know what they're paying for and to get rid of unnecessary charges on their bills.
Yeah. Thank you. Boy, those alternative suppliers, there just are so many sad, sad stories
Yes.
about people. And the communications team put out a news release this past year. Since 2015, consumers have lost more than $1.8 billion on alternative suppliers. People have a right to shop. We're not trying to take away anybody's right to shop, but we do have tips about being a smart shopper and being careful, avoiding, and it's really not even about being a smart shopper, but just avoiding some just really disgusting tactics that some of these companies have, and just to be so careful. I have met some people who have saved money on this, but it is on an alternative supplier, but it is so much work to do that. Also, I just want to say that there are examples of municipal aggregation deals, which are different than the people who come to your door and try to sign you up for an offer. Municipal aggregation deals are community power deals that are negotiated by the leaders of your city. I live in a city that has a municipal aggregation deal that's decent. It's not awesome, but it's decent. And I have signed up for that. And so it can be a legitimate thing, but even with municipal aggregation, don't assume that you're going to save money. You have to really do your homework. And if you ever have a question about whether something's a good deal or not, please give CUB a call. Sandra's team, Danielle and Ani, they're veterans. Like I said, 63 years combined experience. They can talk to you about alternative suppliers and some of the dangerous things. Linda herself, who's been a very busy chat person, and Linda has renewed. We really appreciate that, Linda. I see Yvonne give the heart symbol, and thank you so much for doing that. Linda says, I had an experience with an alternative supplier some years ago. OMG, my bill was 4 times higher than normal. I was able to cancel and get out. It's good for you. And I do want to add, she also says, she's on the hourly pricing program at ComEd, and she's going to look into the solar group buy program. And I'm glad you brought that up. There are good choices in the market. Whenever we write these warnings about bad deals peddled by alternative electricity suppliers, the $1.8 billion in losses, we always tell people there are a lot of choices out there. It's choices like community solar, energy efficiency. You can make your home you can make your home more energy efficient. There's a lot of great programs. As Zoe said, the Inflation Reduction Act has some great incentives, and they're very popular across the spectrum. CUB is a nonpartisan group. We don't get involved in political squabbles. But what is great about some of the messaging with CUB is that people love those incentives, no matter what they believe personally on where they're on the political spectrum. They love those incentives, and everybody loves to save money. So this is a Big Tent message. So there's energy efficiency, there's hourly pricing, which is a great program. I don't know, Zoe, do you want to, or Yvonne or Zoe, do you want to explain what the hourly pricing program is?
Sure. So the hourly pricing is a ComEd program where the consumer, instead of paying the fixed rate that we all pay, they will be paying a rate that changes by the hour. So usually during the evening and nighttime, the prices are lower because there's less demand. So this is a great program for people with high usage, homes that are electric, or if you have an electric car, that's also a great option for you, because usually when the electricity is cheaper is overnight, and you most likely will be charging your car overnight.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and Linda says we've saved a lot of money under this program, and most consumers, it's not right for everyone. That's the one thing we want to tell people. There are some homes it's not going to be right for you, but for the homes that it's right for, and there are a lot of them, you can really be a way to save money. In fact, there were a lot of savings last year. And Jim asked, is hourly pricing available and of any benefit for people with solar PV systems? So yes, it is available, right, Yvonne and Zoe? That's a great option for customers with solar systems.
I believe so. I mean, I'm not 100% sure how hourly pricing works with your solar system, but from what I've heard, it is a good option.
Yes, we often tell people that it's a good program, and we actually have. If you go to our website and go to the guide catalog on our website at citizensutilityboard.org, we've got this great resource that's really great to educate you about solar, and it's our solar guide, CUB's first ever solar guide. If you go there, it talks about hourly pricing and the benefits of that for customers of solar. I think Yvonne brings up a good point that you shouldn't ever assume that it's right for every customer, but can be right for a lot of them.
And if you have, if you want to know if you're a good candidate for this program, you can always contact ComEd or go their website. You can actually register for the program online, but they first look at your account and your usage for the past 12 years, and they will tell you straightforward, like, I don't think this is good for you. My usage at home is less than 400 kilowatt hours a month. So when I called them, they were like, no, I don't think this will benefit you.
Yeah.
So, they're very, the team that manages the program is really good at analyzing your usage and letting you know if this is good for you.
That's right. And some of these fly-by-night companies that go door to door trying to sell you on an alternative supplier deal, they're not going to give you information like that. They're not going to say, so that's what's refreshing about hourly pricing is Yvonne's totally right. It's a ComEd program. We fight ComEd a lot with rate hikes and things like that, but this is a really good, it's a really good program, and they will be honest with you if it's not right for you.
And it's funny that you bring up also aggregation. Sometimes, I mean, the whole point of the aggregation program is to either sign up for renewable energy or help residents save a little money. But we also need to keep in mind that ComEd's rates change twice a year. So sometimes these communities go into a good deal at the moment that the referendum passed, but then eventually it does, if the rates go down, it might not be a good option anymore.
That's right.
And we just recently saw that. We were, I believe it was a week ago, we were in Rockford at a UBC, and this was organized by a state representative. So he was there and he brought his bill to be analyzed, and he sat down with me. We went over his bill. He had high usage, so we recommended hourly pricing, but he also had an alternative supplier because Rockford is under aggregation and the rate was higher than ComEd. So after speaking with him, we saved him money on his bill. Our advice was to go back to ComEd, and because of his usage, his savings would have been, I believe it was like around $50 a month. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we see all types of uh, bad deals, or I will say like ways to save,
Yeah.
to help people save money.
Yeah, right. Great point. I mean, there are a lot of consumers who have been really treated poorly by these alternative suppliers. So, and you're right about the electricity price changing. Linda says here, hourly pricing is especially helpful for us in the summer with AC costs. I can adjust by only a degree or two during peak times, which really helps. Use of major appliance can also be adjusted with the timely text letting me know the peak time frames. So you'll get a text or you'll get some type of announcement by ComEd saying, hey, this is peak demand time. The hourly price is going to go through the roof, so limit the use of some of your appliances. And so it just takes you being aware of that and getting prompts from ComEd. And then she said we get a report on what we saved, and it's been quite helpful. So thank you, Linda, for sharing that experience. So yeah, hourly pricing is a good thing. I also, Elizabeth lets me know we have a question from Christine. Please discuss AT&T getting rid of landlines in 2029. There was a USA Today article that talked about this. AT&T has been on a steady march to try to get rid of landlines. This ticks me off to no end. I just want to tell you, we're getting rid of our landline. It's a lot of people at CUB don't even have a landline. I love my cell phone, my smartphone. But I tell you what, there are a considerable number of people who landlines would be perfect for. They're an affordable option. They're also an incredibly reliable option. For example, you dial 911, you can't speak in the phone. All you have to do is dial 911. They can immediately trace that exactly to your home. You don't get that kind of service with cell phone. It's getting better and better, but it's not quite there yet. And again, there are a lot of consumers who would be really better off. We fought AT&T for more than a decade in the Illinois legislature to protect landline service. Let me say affordable landline service. They finally, in 2017, under a bill that was passed that is part of the corruption scandal, AT&T actually paid a fine to federal authorities as part of a corruption scandal, passing this legislation that basically was a step forward in letting AT&T let go of landlines. They're still under law, they have to provide landline service, but eventually they'll make a request to the Federal Communications Commission, and that they have to give us like 9 months notice when they do that. And as Christine mentioned, they're on a march. USA Today already has reported to get rid of landlines, and we're not outdated. Like I said before, we love smartphones. Landline phone service should be protected. It should be affordable. And what AT&T did once they passed that legislation in 2017, they started jacking up the price of landlines. And that just, I cannot tell you how angry I am about that and how disgusting that is, because this is some of their most loyal customers are getting really treated so poorly in this. They need, and those loyal customers are some of the most vulnerable customers. They need affordable phone service, and they need reliable phone service. And eventually, nobody would need landline service. Eventually, as the technology, cell phone technology gets better and better, as internet telephony gets better and better. But unfortunately, cell phones can be really expensive. They're not always reliable. Internet phone service goes out in a power outage. And it can be very expensive. They're just pushing consumers out. And then AT&T says, oh, you know what? Nobody wants it. Look at all the people who are getting off landlines. Well, it's because you've jacked up the price and you've made it less and less a good deal. So, Christine, I am sorry. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Landlines eventually are going away more quickly than we would like. But yeah, AT&T has its sights set on getting rid of landlines in 2029, which is about 5 years from now, and it's just wrong. So I don't know, Yvonne, if you have anything to say about that or to add.
No, like you said, it's just it makes us all angry. Like I mentioned before, like we went across the state of Illinois, we drove everywhere. Back then, trying to get people on good plans that got created a long time ago for local service. And now when we see bills, we still get to see some bills from consumers that have a landline and they're paying more than I pay for my cell phone. That's it just makes us angry. It just makes it's unbelievable how much people are paying to have local service with AT&T on a landline, a traditional landline. It's just unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. As you mentioned, I think things are technology is getting better and better, and there are ways around like the 911 calls, but people have to be proactive about it. If you have a cell phone, you can register your local your number with the local dispatcher, but again, it's something that you have to be proactive about, and not everybody knows about it. So um yeah, I don't even know, but when you say that you love your smartphone, Jem, I think when I started at CUB, you had a flip phone. That's how long we've been at CUB.
We don't need to talk about that, all right? We don't need to talk about that. Yeah, I'm an old guy. So, but I do love my smartphone. My kids make fun of me about how technology inefficient I am, but yes. But I would like, unless you two have anything to add, I would like to wrap up and get to the ComEd, to the ICC meeting. But there are a couple things. Oh, Linda says, my municipality, Skokie, has an emergency info system that you can opt into with your mobile number so that you can update all emergency and personal medical info like special needs. I hope that will become more comprehensive so that mobile phones can get us the help we may need. Great point. Like I said, it's getting better and better. It's just really angry to me. That would be just a perfect service. Plain old telephone service would be a perfect service for so many people in rural areas, in and just people who want plain old telephone service that's cheap. So it is really a shame. We did fight them for more than a decade. But I want to say, I want to put one more thing in the chat, and Elizabeth has been doing a great job. She already put the catalog in the chat. And I'm just going to put, I mentioned that there's going to be a price spike in ComEd territory in June of 2025. So next June. I just wanted to put that in there. There is that's a Q&A that tells you all about the price spike. It's going to be about $10.50 a month. The price spike is going to be in June of 2025, and it's dealing with this PGM interconnection, and you can read all about it. Now, the good news is that the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act, which we fought for, is going to give consumers a bit of a break. It's going to eat into that increase a little bit, as it's designed to do, which is great. It's a charge on bills right now. This charge that goes to Exelon, in certain market conditions, it turns into a credit, and those market conditions are going to kick in June of 2025. You can read more about it. We're going to send out an email tomorrow that's going to have these links in there. It's also going to have a link to this recording, which I hope is helpful. The other thing I just wanted to end by saying thank you for your support. We couldn't do it without you. Reminder, if you haven't already, please renew your CUB membership for 2025. You can go through the link in the chat, or by simply visiting our website at citizensutilityboard.org. On behalf of the entire CUB staff, we thank you so much, and we wish you a good day. Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays. Yeah.
Thank you.